Hi everyone, Lauren Jobson here, and today I'm going to introduce you to how I understand Western astrology and how in my work I've come to love it, how I use it, and really coming from my understanding from my most amazing teacher, Eloise Muscannon, when it comes to her genius in astrology. And also, I credit my other teacher, Pip Mackay, who first introduced me to this idea of us having a birth chart. So most of you know that I teach NLP, and that's where I really started in personal development. I started to teach this modality called neuro-linguistic programming, NLP for short, and it's about the study of our mind, the study of our language, and the study of our behaviors and the programming that we have with our behaviors in terms of the patterns of behaviors. We can track back from our behaviors and look at what are the thoughts and emotions that create our behaviors. And then I came across Pip Mackay's amazing work from her 22-year spiritual apprenticeship, being initiated into Eastern mystery tradition. And that is a profound set of philosophy, and it's the 22 principles of consciousness. And so when Pip started to learn the Eastern mystery tradition with the 22 principles of consciousness, she was in fact firstly introduced to astrology. And so those of you who know that I do work with the archetypes and the 22 principles of consciousness, it actually fits inside of astrology in a really advanced way. So with my story, so I'm teaching NLP, I then come across Pip Mackay, and from her 22 years, as you can imagine, learning such profound wisdom, she has so much depth and profundity to her with her wisdom that she knows, that I started to teach her creation, which is matrix therapies. And then I did her spiritual courses, we might like to call them, where I was initiated into the 22 principles of consciousness. And it wasn't until years into my study of the 22 principles of consciousness, which is also the archetypes. So when I mention archetypes, it's also the 22 principles in which we can be conscious as human beings. After many years of studying that, I went to an advanced course where we actually act out your birth chart. Now, in all honesty to you, even to this day, even with the very fact that I'm teaching you astrology, this might sound funny, but bear with me. There are 12 star signs, as we all probably know, and you probably know what what's called star sign is, which is actually your sun sign, but I'll explain that in a minute. Even till this day, I don't always remember what each of the signs actually mean. So I'm still teaching my unconscious mind to learn that, to then relegate that to my conscious mind so I can totally know consciously what all of the 12 signs mean. So what I do know though is the big picture profundity of astrology, and as I continue to learn, this is now a really big passion of mine to go deeper with astrology in terms of helping people understand themselves on a really deep level. So in a moment I'll explain why I feel astrology gives us such deep self-awareness. So the way I can then teach astrology to you is a bigger picture aspect, and then there are really some key aspects that I do understand deeply, and I then understand it. I can't really say I understand it from an intuition point of view yet, because intuition can only really be intuition if one has enough knowledge about it and has enough intellect about it. So since I don't have the full intellect around it, I can't say I have intuition on it, but rather I have some feelings about what things might mean. But what I do know is the big picture, why it's powerful. I know some key aspects, and I want to share that with you today. All right, so here, as you can see on my screen, is what's called a birth chart. And the cool thing is you can get your own birth chart easily and free by going to astro.com. So I believe you can see my screen. Yeah, cool. And what you need to do is just put in your date of birth. You do need to find your time of birth, and the more accurate you know your time of birth by the minute, the more accurate your birth chart will be. So you might need to call your mum and ask her. Now, all fairness to her, she may not remember, so it'll be on your birth certificate. Contact me if you don't know your time of birth, okay? But if you can, get your date of birth, your time of birth, and also your location. So your location is really important because the planets, as I am going to share with you now, would have been in completely different, you're in a different location on the earth, so your birth chart will be different with this, okay? So we need these three things when it comes to your birth to get what's called your birth chart. So what your birth chart here is it's a snapshot of where the planets were in the sky the moment you were born. And so notice it's a circle, and notice that you are whole, and we are all whole. And then this chart is then divided by sections. So in a moment, I'll break that down and explain what each of these parts mean. But also see this as the universe as we know it is whole, and the planets have a particular or had a particular location in the sky in relationship to Earth at the moment you were born. And so if we look here at the middle, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse throughout this. I think you can. So that's hopefully you can see that this very small circle right in the middle is, say, the Earth. And the way this works for us is it imagines that the moment we're born, we're at the top of the Earth. Okay, so it just goes an imprint of, say, Lauren, because this is my birth chart. If she's at the top of the Earth, then in relation to the Earth, where are all the planets in what constellation? So our star sign, as we know generally our star sign, it's in the media, it's in the newspaper, and you might read your forecasts, is actually simply where the sun was in what star sign. Okay, so we know that there are 12 star signs, and that they're actually constellations of stars in the sky, right? And so as we move around the sun, the constellations or the planets inside of the constellations move, okay? And so it's every 30 days they move into a different zodiac or star sign, zodiac sign. And so the moment I was born, well, we know the month I was born, really, the bigger picture here is that the sun sits in Virgo. So my sun sign is Virgo, okay? Now, I said a moment ago, because these planets, some move faster than others. But we know that the sun changes star signs every, I believe it's 30 days. It might be 28 days, but see, I don't even know that. But we're just getting this general big picture sense, okay? Now, the thing with what we don't understand about our star sign is that we may not actually have the qualities that we're meant to have inside of that star sign, because in fact our sun sign, our star sign, is who we are meant to be becoming in this lifetime. It means that the more we embody this sun sign, the more we learn about that particular energetic archetype. So my astrology teacher, which I love, Eloise Muscannon, talks about how the star signs and then the planets are archetypes. And then in my 22 principles of consciousness, they are also archetypes, and each of the 22 principles of consciousness are either one of the 11 planets and then the 12, okay, so it must be the 10 planets. Yeah, it's the 10 planets plus the 12 star signs. Okay, so let me see. I don't have it up, but if you bear with me, I'll just show you something. For those who know the archetypes, this is my beautiful teacher and her training, Cosmic Alchemy. And I'll search here for one of my posts that I've done, because this is the study that I was doing 2018. And this here is what I mean by the moon is actually the oracle in our work. The Cancer is actually the knight archetype. Gemini is actually the lover's archetype. Yeah, we got Pisces is actually the evolution archetype. And so when I say archetype, I'm talking now the 22 principles of consciousness. If you don't know what I'm talking about right now, just let this just seed through in your mind. I'm going to get to some more tangible, bigger picture aspects in a moment that you do want to hang around for. But for those of you who do know my archetypal work that I do with Pip Mackay, so Pip Mackay, these are Pip Mackay's pictures that she created from the wisdom. Oh, actually, instead of looking at the chart, you could look here. See, innocent adventurer is Uranus. Magician is Mercury. High priestess or the oracle is Moon. Creative nurturer is Venus. Completely makes sense, right? Aries is the ruler. The sage is Taurus. Lovers is Gemini. The knight is Cancer. And so what this means, by the way, say if you have the star sign, say if your sun is Cancer, then being the knight, it can give you a real big picture, an energy imprint, a big picture idea of who you are learning to become. And so it means that you do a knight energy. Your archetypal journey is to be more and more of the knight archetype because you have a Cancer sun sign. Okay, so this is how the archetypes correlate with these things. So you've got here the 12 star signs and the planets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, 10 planets. And because there's the North Node, that's why I said before about 11th planet. Oh, that's it there. Oh yeah, no, so North Node is technically not a planet. Okay, cool, so that makes sense. So that's how the archetype work sits there. So let's just come back here to this chart for a moment. So what we've got is where were the planets the moment you were born, in what constellation in the sky. So if you can picture the planets, were they sitting in, say, in the Virgo, Leo, Cancer, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces? Yeah, I'm getting these right. Aquarius, forgotten what that one is. Sagittarius, Scorpio, Libra. Okay, what star sign is the planet in? Because here's the thing, is your birth chart is like the play of your life. It is the imprint that your soul chose for this incarnation. And astrology is about, and this philosophy of it, and the way Eloise teaches it, and Western astrology, because there are different variations of astrology, but we're looking at Western astrology, is this idea that we chose when to be born, and so the planets left an energetic imprint on our soul and who we are. And so this is about authentically being aligned to our energies and working with it. And that if we understand if we understand where the planets were, in what areas of our life, so I'll show you in a moment how this is actually divided into 12. So it's saying that there are 12 areas of our life. And it's saying that when we have planets in an area of life, in one of the 12 possible houses, so it's called houses in astrology, and when we have planets sitting in a zodiac sign, well, then we have energy there. So the sun being in Virgo for me and being at the top of the chart here is all about career and expression in the world. So for me, the more I do Virgo qualities in my career, then the more in flow I will be. So me understanding this is really cool. And then I need to look at the house that my sun sits in. And this is very small. I can appreciate if it's not clear to you here, but this actually is the number 8. So it's anti-clockwise. We start with 1 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it goes round to 12. Now this is the horizon line, by the way, where the sun was coming up, and I was born at 3:30 in the afternoon. So the sun was here high up in the sky at the time of my birth. And so the house in which it sits in will very much give me an idea of what my career and what I'm coming to learn in this lifetime is about, what I am here to express, what I'm here to contribute. The more I understand this, the more I can be in flow with my authentic self. And astrology in this philosophy too totally respects that you always have choice. So we can work with the energies and our life can be more in flow, and we can totally choose, say, not to have Virgo qualities, which actually I have done a lot of in my adult life. I used to have a lot more Virgo qualities when I was younger, not so much as an adult. And the more I can understand that and see, well, actually, if I do more Virgo qualities, like organization, detail, conscientious, discerning, the more I do that, the more I, again, am just living in flow and more with what's imprinted on my soul. And so being my authentic self. And so this work with astrology really works beautifully with understanding the work I do with discovering your 3 passion and purpose archetypes, which is created by Pip McKay, and then learning my talent archetypes, so my 4 unique energies. That is also working with our soul signature, our soul imprint, and is very much aligned to this work with astrology. So this is getting a bit long, so I want you to know, I'll just give you some other big picture key things. And if you're interested, you can let me know, and we can totally do another masterclass on going in depth with this for your chart and specifically what each of them mean for you. So what else I want to share is that you can see this is divided by, there's 2 thicker black lines, so it can be divided by 4. Now, this is the horizon line, this one going across, as I said before. So what's interesting for us to know is that in what sign was the horizon in when we were born? And that's called our ascendant, okay, where it was ascending. And for me, it's Sagittarius. Now, what your ascendant will tell you is how other people perceive you. So other people perceive me, I come across as a Sagittarius. So people might not see the Virgoan in me, the Virgo, right? They'll see me as a Sagittarius with those Sagittarius qualities. So interesting that if you read a forecast and your sun sign or your star sign doesn't feel right, you can actually, if you know your ascendant, so you will know just by going to this. And by the way, it's got the words here, so you can really read the side here instead of, if you don't know what all of these symbols are, it tells you here. And say my ascendant is Sagittarius, it means that if I read the Sagittarius forecast, that can actually resonate with me more than the sun sign. So that's interesting to know. So underneath the horizon line can imply if we are introverted, because it's very much about self, family. So right at the bottom here where this black line ends is all about your roots, your groundedness, your family values, your security, your inner security. This side of the chart is then all about others. So we've got self here, we've got others here. Down the bottom, and we've got home and security. Well, up the top is, as I said before, is our career and contribution. Okay, then we look at the left side of the thick line chart here. We've got, also by the way, the planets inform energy there. Okay, so think of this. I love how Eloise explains this, that your birth chart is the play of your life. The planets are the characters. And so in what scene do they play a part? So with the 12 different houses, what is the scene? What is the background? What is the story? Okay, because again, there's the 12 aspects of your life. So for example, see here 7. 7 is the house of friendships, other people. I'll just stick to, relationships to others. And I have my moon in this house, and I have Chiron, the wounded healer, in this house, and they both sit in Gemini. So what I was saying is where your planets are, this is called Stay With Me, is the characters. And then in terms of what star sign they are in, determines the costumes that they wear, the personality that they play. Is that really cool to see? Yeah, totally cool. Okay, so underneath this line, how many planets do you have? Because if you have more planets underneath here, can show that you've got a lot more introversion going on in your life, that you are more an inner person, an inner worlds person, a grounded person who really just wants to focus on your immediate micro world. Compared to, and some people can have a balance, like me here actually shows a bit of a balance, but a bit more what's called extroversion. So I've got a lot of expression in the world. Okay, so above the line then talks about our expression in the world. Yep, so cool. And then the left side of this line is, are we self-directive? So do we just self-initiate? Do we just get on with things from our own inner motivation? Or the other side, the right-hand side, is then waiting on cues from other people. Do we tend to live our lives waiting for other people to give us ideas? And that's cool. I think that I do a lot of that, and I've got less planets on this side than I do of self-directive. So I'm kind of both, but it's interesting, these bigger picture things. Look at again the planets is, do you have a lot of planets when it comes to yourself or career and expression at the top of the chart, other people, which is the right side of the chart, and home, security down the bottom of the chart. Now, each planet then has a different impression and power in terms of making up who you are, okay? So as I said, the sun is all about who you're becoming. The more qualities you learn to have of that, the more inflow your life will be. And now we've got so I'm not going to go through all of them, but the opposite of the sun is then the moon. So whereas sun is masculine, it's about your expression in the outer world, your moon and where your moon sits is all about your inner world and your emotional self. So how do you do emotions? How do you process emotions? Well, I process emotions in a Gemini manner. So learning about Gemini would be very beneficial for me to notice how I process emotions. And it sits in my 7th house. So what this says, I'll share this with you, is that one of my places of biggest growth, one of my places of biggest challenges, yeah, if that makes it, biggest challenge, and a place where I get triggered the most, where I get emotionally triggered, is when it comes to other people and my friendships. Other people and my friendships. And this makes total sense here when I can understand that. Particularly then when I look at Chiron, again, the archetype of Chiron is the wounded healer. So where our Chiron sits can tell us where we might need a lot of healing. And that if we heal that, there's a big place of growth for us. So I have a lot of growth to do here. One other thing I want to share with you is Venus is then your feminine love, how you do love planet, where Mars is your how do you do work and your masculine planet. Now, I share Venus and Mars because we've all heard of Venus and Mars from the book or from a saying, women are from Venus, men are from Mars, okay? So archetypally, that has truth in that Venus is a feminine planet and it's all about love, and Mars is a masculine planet and it's all about going out and doing things, okay? I just want to share with you, particularly for those people who know me, this can be a good example to understand, again, how understanding the planets works, is we've got here my Venus in the 10th house, and 10th house here is all about marriage and one-on-one relationships. Yeah. For those of you who know me, I've been in my marriage for a long time, or been with my partner for a long time. But also I have the lover's archetype. So when we come back to here, the lover's archetype is one of my passion and purpose archetypes. It sits in Gemini, and if we look here, Venus is creative nurturer, yeah. But my point here is in Libra. So I'm a big lover in terms of love and relationships. And intimacy is one of the most important things to my personality and my life. And my Venus, my love planet, sits in the house of love and marriage, and it sits in the star sign of Libra. And Libra is all about balance and equality. So I'm very much about equality in partnerships, and I have a particular skill and genius in relationships. I'm a good communicator, and I have a very healthy relationship with my husband. And I'm also able to help other people in their relationship. So I wanted to share with you, see, Libra here is the balance key. So she's all about balance. Sorry you can't see there, but she's actually a beautiful goddess with scales, like balancing scales. So there is just so much profundity, so much depth. My Mars is over here, by the way, in the first house, which is all about the first house here. See, there's number 1. It's all about self and coming to understand ourself. So isn't that interesting that my business and career is about helping people have understanding? So remember, Mars is very much about my action, about how I contribute. Mars is my masculine planet, so it tells me what is my expression. And that sits in 1, about self. And that, see, we can go here, Mars is in Capricorn. Capricorn, the goat, I believe, going up the hill, right? Has an outcome, does whatever it takes to get up the hill and get what we want. So that just makes so much sense for those of you who know me. So this is, I'm really happy I got to share what I did share with you today. I appreciate it's a lot. I hope you have listened through this, and if you're watching still at this point, hope this has made sense and you've loved this. It's super cool to get your soul signature, and I've done that for some people who've asked me to look at their charts, and it's got here a breakdown of how many planets do you have in fire, how many planets do you have in the quality of air. So fire is intuition, air is thinking, earth is feeling, water is feeling, and earth is, air, I've forgotten for a moment. Then we've got here cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So cardinal is about, do you initiate things? Fixed is, are you good at maintaining things that already exist? And mutable, are you good at transforming things, taking something and transforming it? And then when we add these up, we have what's called your soul signature, in that I'm what's called a mutable fire. I'm mutable fire, because you can see I've got the most planets in mutable down here, and I've got the most planets in fire. So when we look at what star sign is mutable fire, that's Sagittarius. So I have a lot of Sagittarius in me then as my soul signature, and it just has made complete sense as to what that means to me. And so if you're interested to learn what yours is, please feel free to get in touch with me, and I'll take a look at your chart and I can help you add it up and understand that. I did that for my husband and my daughter. She's only 2, but I can have a bit of an understanding of their primary energy, authentic imprint that makes you who you are and who you're becoming. So I hope this has been really interesting. Please let me know what you love about it. Ask me questions, and I will speak to you really soon. Bye for now.